In contrast to enemies you can face head-on, it was the hidden villains that were so much harder to eliminate. But now that she mentioned it. By the way, what is Granbell's goal? He hadn't made any moves until now, so it doesn't feel like he is exposing himself just to avenge Mirabelle. It could be, no, it's nothing. Luminas swallowed her words. She closed her eyes and pondered for a few seconds before calmly explaining. That man has always dreamed of bringing peace to the human world in the past. He battled vile fiends and eliminated vicious beasts in an effort to safeguard humanity. Furthermore, this stubborn guy fought me several times until he learned that I had no intention of killing all humans, but instead wished to coexist in peace. Afterwards, we created a pact, and the Western continent became a place of peace and prosperity. Various kinds of families united together, and nations were founded. Some smaller countries flourished and became larger. Gran manipulated these nations from the shadows, eventually spurring the birth of the Western States Council. Listening to this firsthand, I realized that Granbell, Hero Gran, seemed to be a bona fide legendary figure. He justified his decision to remain the holder of the head position of the questionable 5 Great Elders, as a way to protect humanity. Putting the morality of his actions aside, judging from the results alone, humanity was given 1,000 years of peace because of Granbell. Sarian, led by the ancient elven tribe, lacked the ambition to expand their territory. While continents Wrath Daggerel and Storm Dragon Vildor fought on the land, us and Lubelius hand led the defense. The demons from the frozen realm of the north attempted to invade several times, but they were merely toying with us. If Gi were serious, this world would undoubtedly have already perished. And in that case, there would only be one more human circle left. To prepare ourselves for such a possibility, we allied ourselves with the dwarves and had merchants gather information for us. Granbell had been handling all this by himself the entire time. Luminas finally finished. Upon learning these new details, I couldn't help but think that Granbell was quite impulsive. No, this is no time to resonate with Luminas' words. And so, if Granbell-san is this powerful, what is he attempting to accomplish? Kukuku, don't get so hasty now. Gran has no reason to antagonize me, although I wish I could boldly claim that, actually, I thought of one possible goal he might have in mind. However, I do not intend to tell you about it. Ah, just as I thought. She was trying to avoid giving too much away, so I half-guessed this outcome. Regarding his motivation, there was one piece of information that concerned me. Have you ever heard of the name Yuki Kagurazaka? Inquired Luminas. Yes. Didn't you say that he had an ominous aura around him? Not only did he instigate the kingdom of Pharmus to raise arms against my nation, but the late demon lord Clayman was also doing his bidding. So you noticed that as well. Good, then it'll be easier for you to understand. You see, this Yuki had contacted Gran in the past. The two appear to have interacted with each other, and even formulated somewhat of an agreement. It's Yuki again, huh? Enough is enough. I'm getting pretty tired of being jerked around by that guy. Had it not been for Raphael-san, I would have been easily fooled by him again. If I were to allow this individual to continue his pernicious acts, then there would be a ton of problems to deal with in the future. Perhaps it was time that I confronted him directly. Could it be that Gran was operating due to Yuki's manipulation? Indeed, I am afraid a part of their plan is directed at you. I see. They must have thought that now was the perfect time to strike since I was away from Tempest. I get it, Shion suddenly interjected. That brat's goal is to make Gran and Rimuru-sama fight each other. I was so shocked that my eyes automatically focused on Shion. And here I thought she was ignoring the meeting because she didn't understand. Turns out she understood everything just fine. Kufufufufu, he thinks that just because we left the country with a few guards, this is an opportunity that can't be passed up. How naive. There are 2 heavenly kings guarding Rimuru-sama. No matter what he is planning, it will be meaningless. Diablo was up to his usual antics. Please stop. I felt tremendously embarrassed every time someone mentioned the 4 heavenly kings. In any case, as a precaution, we should stay alert. There are 3 more days before the concert, and after those 3 days, it won't be a problem of yours anymore. Just like what I said in the beginning, I merely wish to enjoy the concert. Luminas wasn't shaken either. While she labeled Gran a threat, she still prioritized her entertainment. I wanted to learn from her how to be this calm and collected. On that thought, the secret meeting deep into the night concluded. Next, would we see if Granbell really took action? Would Yuki take advantage of this as well? Despite our worries, the second day of our visit to Lubelius began. Today, we were preparing the venue. We moved around the instruments and started setting them up. We were led to the cathedral. This was an enormous building that could hold a large number of believers and, at the same time, a major structure that was the vital point of defense for the path leading to its interior. I didn't have anything in particular to do. Tasks like tuning instruments were best left to the experts. I would proceed with the schedule as planned and bring the kids on a field trip. Of course, as Luminas made abundantly clear, it was important to remain vigilant. To that end, we summoned Diablo's direct subordinate, Venom, and brought him along as a bodyguard. Venom must have been quite shocked since he was summoned without any prior warning. Diablo, you will be in charge of supervising the band members' work. Rimuru-sama, I was interrupted mid-sentence by Diablo. Please wait a moment. I knew this would happen, which is why I've already made arrangements last night. This guy just had to eliminate all possibilities of us being separated. I suppose this was the reason why he had called all his subordinates here, though I couldn't necessarily blame him for doing that. Diablo even threatened Venom would show up within 10 minutes. It was one thing for Venom to actually carry out the order, but for Diablo to demand that without batting an eye, it just proved his heartlessness. Oh well, he wouldn't have a heart to begin with. He was a demon after all. While impressed by Diablo's efficiency, I also felt sympathy for his subordinates with how tiresome his orders must have been. Before I could blink, the 100 demons under Venom's command had already begun helping the band members. These Magians were all over rank A, and Lumina's subordinates would also stay alert. Now, I could rest assured that the bodyguard detail was flawless. Under Hinata's guidance, I toured around the city to examine Lumina's legacy. And tacking it all in, I felt that the Holy Empire of Lubelius was the direct antithesis of the Tempest Federation. This was not to say, however, that they didn't have their merits. Although the citizens lacked freedom, it was a blissful society because the people here didn't compete with each other. The only work they needed to do was to follow the procedures already set for them by their superiors. In a sense, everyone had essentially relinquished their independence, but in return, they would never experience hunger or pain. Those who couldn't bear such a society had already left the country, whereas the remaining people had all adhered to these rules since birth. Naturally, this would seem unbalanced to a bystander. Ignorance is bliss. People wouldn't be dismayed if they never knew how less fortunate they were compared to others. Conversely, this discontentment could also inspire people to work harder for greater aspirations. After all, a society without competition would become stagnant. For some reason this feels really boring. Alice muttered to herself. Yokenya voiced his agreement. People our age here are all working. Aren't there any schools? While the rest of the children did not speak, they still remained confused at the bizarre sight in front of them. There are no schools in this country. Everyone is under someone's command. Everyone is equal under the glorious name of God. People come to this nation to enjoy peace and prosperity. Hinata said proudly. But I had to wonder, did she really think that was the right thing to do? Did they have no qualms about the fact that the upper echelons of society had monopolized all luxuries for themselves? But on the contrary, she still had a point. It didn't feel right to teach the unknowing commoners about luxury when they didn't need to know anything about it in the first place. No matter how hard one tries, there will always be some things that are impossible to acquire. If people never know about the existence of these things, then they won't feel the need to obtain it and suffer as a result. That's true as well. Kenya wasn't dumb either. He understood what I meant. Living in an extremely regulated society like this, we maintain a high standard of happiness for our citizens. That's why when communicating with other nations, everything must all go through the Western Holy Church first. Hinata explained. That made sense. If their people were ignorant of things like luxury, then they wouldn't be allowed to have contact with other nations in fear of them learning about the inequality they were living in. They sound like fish raised in a fishbowl. If they feel like they are happy, then we should not interfere. I suppose so. Human happiness cannot be satisfied by materialistic desires alone. A society that pursues spiritual happiness definitely isn't a bad idea either. Although, I probably wouldn't be able to tolerate it. I believe that my knowledge of these luxuries granted me the right to pursue that prosperity. A long time ago, I used to run around the neighborhood playing hide and seek with friends. Perhaps if it were me from back then, I would have found this society to be very comfortable. Everyone has a different definition of happiness. You don't have the right to criticize others and call their ideologies false. Think for yourself and do things your own way. I thought that should be sufficient. Even so, there was something else that I was mindful of. But the people here won't be able to survive on their own. If they are to sustain a life like this, they need protection. Chloe's mutter was just what I was thinking. Children's observation skills can be underestimated sometimes. Her words seemed to have gotten a reaction from Hinata as well, seeing how she rapidly blinked her eyes a few times. Looks like she noticed it too. This society was twisted, in a sense. Without its ruler, its citizens, unknowledgeable of the outside world, were unable to do anything. Losing their personal freedom meant that their lives were entirely in other people's hands. A life like that would be no different from livestock. Indeed. But we have been working hard to improve the situation to prevent such things from happening. Oh, I see. But I still think it's better if everyone can work together. Then they won't just rely on Hinata One-chan's hard work. Everyone can help out. That was an idealistic take because things were not as simple as working hard. Everyone was born with different talents, and so the amount of responsibilities they could accomplish were unequal as well. The word equality sounded wonderful, but everyone would still come to experience cruel and unjust reality. Idealism and realism. The two locked in eternal conflict with each other. When one of them stands valid, the other will not. So there was never really a right answer. As long as you walk down the path you believe in, that was enough. The unknown was what made life so interesting. The children appeared to be troubled over something the rest of the day. It made me realize again that happiness wasn't just about fulfilling our material needs. Even though I knew this, I couldn't stop emphasizing it. Regardless of the conclusion, I didn't think the day was wasted. I suppose that the Holy Empire of Lubelius's approach was another valid method. This diversity allowed for life to have infinite possibilities. I reflected upon my life again and pondered carefully. I figured not limiting myself intentionally was the correct path for me. I was reincarnated as a slime after being stabbed to death in my previous life. There was no telling what would happen in the future. And if that were the case, not living in the moment would be a shame. I couldn't help but ponder after considering all these thoughts. And thus the wheels of fate began to turn.